say that Jerry and I had a one-to-one a couple weeks ago, and I learned a lot about his company. So thank you, Jerry, for asking me to announce you. So his name is Jerry Pollio, as everybody knows, and the business that he's representing is Schooley Mitchell. His profession is consulting expense reduction and error recovery. And what I learned about that is that he goes in and he actually runs real reports using charts and graphs to identify the usage for businesses and say, you're spending money here, but you're not using it. And so he's able to show this to his clients. I thought that was very, very interesting. And he's been in business with Schooley Mitchell now for 1 year, but the business itself, Schooley Mitchell, has been around for 20 years. And he is married to Maggie, made in Taiwan Pollio. We'll have to ask him what the made in Taiwan means. He has a stepdaughter that's 25 years old, and she's a CPA. And his pet's name is Moxie. She's a standard poodle, and she's 8 years old. And he has, his hobbies are a work in progress, so evidently he hasn't figured out what those are yet. His activities of interest include baseball, education, and cooking. His city of residence is Houston, Texas. And his burning desire is to guide and mentor young entrepreneurs. So without further ado, let's welcome Jerry Pollio.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jerry Pollio, and I own a consulting practice called Schooley Mitchell. And what we do in a nutshell is we assist business customers reduce their telecom, which is anything that a business uses to communicate, phone, internet, data, wireless, anything of that nature, along with their credit card expenses or credit card processing expenses. We work on a contingency-based format, and how we get paid is we get paid on a percentage of the savings. So if I unpack that a little bit for everyone, I'll tell you exactly what we don't do. We're not a telecom company, so we don't sell hardware, software, phones, switches, or anything of that nature. We're not a merchant service company. In our industry, there are agents and brokers. We're neither an agent nor a broker. An agent would be someone that represents a particular company like Comcast or Verizon or Logix or something of that nature, and we're not a broker. Brokers are generally have a package or a bucket of providers that they work with, and they're paid a commission. So we are completely independent and objective telecom consultants. And what we do is I'm part of a network called Schooley Mitchell, which Crystal said is about 20 years old. The company started as Price Waterhouse Chartered Accountants in Canada. And what they were doing, as all good accountants do, they look at things and they find things. And they were finding that at that time the Marbells were just crazy with invoices and prices, and they couldn't figure out why they were paying so much. So they built a business around an audit and a review and an analysis process on telecommunications. That grew into a national entity. And today there are probably about 200 consultants like myself throughout the United States and Canada that do the same thing that I do. So what that does is it gives us leverage, because what we do when we pull the curtain back is what we do, and what we do very, very successfully is we have empirical data. So we have about 20,000 clients that we have nationwide. And having 20,000 clients nationwide is we put a lot of deals together. So we are able to go back and look at, for example, an account in Houston that has this amount of users spending this amount with these kind of services, and we can compare empirical data. And we take the empirical data, then we take that a little further, and we put that into our database and our tools, and what we're able to do is basically come up with a report. Our end product for a client is a report. The report has 3 pieces of information in the report. Number 1, we give a client a very, very clear overview and transparent snapshot of what they're paying for. Because most clients don't know what they're paying for. They're sold bundles of services, and they don't understand it, and they just say, yep, I don't want to think about this, and I'll pay it. We are able to come in and look at that and determine whether or not those services are real, and if you're paying for something that you actually need. So we give you a complete and accurate inventory. The second part of our report is we look at what's available in the market. As I mentioned, we're independent and objective, so we don't take anything from a vendor. What we do is we look in the market, we have a conversation about your business, so we understand, are you expanding? Are you contracting? Do you going to have more people in the field? What's your service level? Do you need bandwidth? And all of those things all the characteristics that are important to your business, and then we'll make a market recommendation based on the characteristics of your business. Our third part of our report will be recommendations. So what it boils down to is, this is where you are today, this is where you can be, and this is some options. The great thing, I think, for any business owner is, as a consultant, you have a go-no decision. So we don't come in and say, you know, the walls are beige, and we say they're beige, and you still have, and even if you don't agree with us, you still have to pass. We work on a contingency basis. So we're pretty confident, after about 4 to 6 weeks of putting our reports together, that we're going to find you some savings. So I bring this along only to show people that we know that about 80% of the businesses are burning money, are burning through money. Burning money both on their telecom spend and burning money as well on their credit card expenses. So that's basically what we know. We also, as we do our reviews, we find billing errors. One of the first things we look for when we look and do the reviews is we find billing errors. When we find the billing errors, we put those right back into the business's bottom line. So, where's Sam? Because I figured you're in the money business. I need a volunteer. There could be some money in this for you. So, as I mentioned, you know, we work on a contingency basis, and we're pretty confident about what we do. Don't look at it. And
I have to gather as much information as
much
possible.
information. So, as I mentioned, we work on a contingency basis because we're pretty confident in what we do. So either, you know, two things happen at the end of our reviews. Number one, we'll be able to come back to the client and say we can save you meaningful money, and you have to make a decision based on our findings, and it's your decision. Or number two, we're going to give you peace of mind. So after 4 to 6 weeks, we spend a lot of time and a lot of resources on putting the reports together. And what I do with a client is very simple. Sam, can you open up the envelope?
I'll be happy to.
And what's inside that envelope?
Cash money.
Cash money, and it's $2, right? So what we do is we have the customer's bill. Let's say this is his telecom bill, and we've already reviewed it and analyzed it, and we've determined that we can save our client $2. They've signed the service agreement with us. We have a small service agreement and a letter of authorization which authorizes us to work on their behalf. Because we need authorization to go on the back end and call the vendors or the carriers, otherwise they're not going to talk to us. We don't change anything, we just want that authorization so that we can go in, and we generally get that online, so it's easier because we're all looking at the same thing, and we're basing all of our findings and reviews and analysis on the bills and invoices from the client. So these are real figures, and then as an accountant and bookkeepers, you guys know that when they're real, you know, they speak for themselves. So anyway, so we're saving you $2, Sam, Mr. Klein, and I'm Mr. Jerry. You're a telecom consultant, and I'm showing you your bill that we're saving you $2. Would you give me back $1? Come on, give me back $1.
You signed an agreement.
Right, you signed an agreement. I have a cousin in New Jersey. I'm not gonna get
2 is better than 1.
Always. And that's how we work. So we get 50% of the savings that we're able to save a client. And that's basically how we work on a contingency basis. That's how we get paid. And that's about all I got. You know, I've got some client stories. One client story in particular is a veterinarian clinic that we work with. We've been with them about 7 months. And what happened is we walked in and we did a review on their telecom. We couldn't save them any money because they were in contracts. We find a lot of times that the way telecom companies make money is they lock our clients into contracts. When you look at the contract and you have to say we can save you X amount or percentage, but we can't pull you out of a contract because it costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It's almost illegal, but that's what they do, and that's the way the industry is. So we voted and said that we'll just sit on that, and then when the contracts get about 6 months out, we'll come back and we'll take a look at it again. So they also asked us to look at their credit card processing expenses. And what we found there is they're probably, it's a dog and cat clinic. Dogs by far 5 to 1 cats. Anybody's a cat person, sorry, but they do a lot of business on the dog side. And we were able, they're doing about $300,000 a month in credit card processing fees. So we looked at that, and we were able to come back to them and say to them, you have a processor that's kind of a quasi-processor, not really an authentic processor. This is the processor that you have is basically a third party where it's just passing on cost to your bank. Because usually it just goes credit card to bank.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Anyway, bottom line is we were able to show them, based on our research and analysis, that we have a processor where we can save them about 45%, which is about $15,000 a year in credit card processing fees. And we take that right off the table and put that right back into their business. And we get 50% of that. And I have another client, telecom client, same thing. They came to us with a contract. They said they got the best prices in town. We looked at it. All we can do is say, yes, you have the best prices in town, or no, you have some options on the table, and we'll look at it, and either we'll give you peace of mind, or we'll tell you we can save you some money. So bottom line is, we looked at it, they swore by heaven and earth that those were the best prices in town. Actually, they weren't. We were able to come back to them from the same incumbent vendor, lower that by 25%. They're an engineering firm. They build, work with airports and stuff like that around the country. And we save them, it's not a lot, it's about $5,000 a year. But you multiply that over 3 years, that's $15,000. We like to show off because we can generally show pretty decent savings. So we do it over a 5-year span. So 30 and another 10, so you're about $40,000 that we're saving. So we're putting that money really right back into your bottom line. The thing I want to leave you with is that we can never take money out of a client's bottom line. We're always self-funded, and we're pretty confident in what we do. And referrals for me are always business-to-business clients across all kinds of verticals. Anyone that's using credit card, has credit card expenses, and of course Telecom, and businesses between about businesses between about 5 and 500 or 1,000 employees are a sweet spot for us. And
You say again, how big a customer?
usually we're finding where we can really extract savings is our companies between, and we don't use so much of a revenue model, we use more of an employee model, because we've got employees, they've got expenses, right? So we're anywhere between about 5 and 500 employees across all kinds of verticals. So,
Joe, tell us a little bit about how evergreen contracts affect your business.
Evergreen,
Evergreen contracts.
I'm
I
sorry.
just got caught last year in an evergreen contract with Logix,
With
where
Logix.
after 3 years, those contracts automatically renew. You have to give them notice.
Right.
That you're going
There's
to
fine
terminate
print.
your relationship with them, or even not terminate, but you're going to renegotiate your rate. And if you don't, you're just locked into that same rate for
Right.
another year.
Right.
The only way your bill can go is up.
It's fine print, right? And the reason we're able to do what we do is when we pull the curtain back is because we have the empirical data, we have the software, the tools, and we're comparing apples to apples. We have clients somewhere in our database that are similar to your particular company. So we know exactly, we put the deals together, we know what the promotions are, and we are a hands-on full service, so we're engaged for 3 years. So we don't just come in and say we can save 35% and walk away from it. We keep our finger on the pulse to ensure, because I can tell you what happens with the carriers. We get the savings, and then they'll revert back to where it was before, because they feel that, if they can get away with it, that's what they do best. So we keep our finger on the pulse. We'll bring you promotions and specials and things of that nature, and it's just something that a business owner they don't have to think about it anymore. So we're an outsourced, telecom consultant and merchant service or processing. That's it. I'm done.